When I say the name James Earl Jones, you might think of this.
People will come, Ray.
Or this.
Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
Or maybe even this.
I am your father.
A name synonymous with many live action and voice acting performances. On the 9th of September 2024, James Earl Jones passed away in his home in Paulding, New York, surrounded by his family at the age of 93. Jones' story is one of an unexpected rise out of poverty-stricken Southern America in a country that was trying to get through the Great Depression, all the way to the Academy Awards. Born to parents Robert and Ruth in a shack on the 17th of January 1931 in Archbeulah, Mississippi, shortly after his birth, Jones encountered hardship as his father would leave the family to fend for themselves in an attempt to pursue a career in stage and screen acting in New York and Hollywood. Jones wouldn't actually reconcile with his father over this fact until well into his 20s. From the age of 5, he was raised by his maternal grandparents on their farm in Dublin, Michigan. Jones found the transition to living with his grandparents in Michigan very traumatic, and during this period of his life, he would develop an impediment that would seemingly put a stop to his prolific voice acting career well before it got a chance to begin. He began to develop a stutter. The stutter was so severe that Jones would refuse to speak.
I didn't make sense. I spoke to the dog a lot, but I had not really addressed a language before.
He has said, "So my first year of school was my first mute year, and then those mute years continued until I got to high school." Jones continued to struggle with his stutter for 8 years, until one day when his English teacher, Donald Crouch, discovered he had a gift for writing poetry, and encouraged him to read his works aloud in class, in an effort to combat his speech impediment, which proved to be successful. Jones always had a flair for the arts, and pursued this by studying drama at the University of Michigan. His distinct, booming voice gave him a unique asset that set him apart from his other classmates, and he used this to land his first acting gig, playing the titular role of Othello in a stage play. After graduating in 1955, Jones spent a brief stint serving in the US Army during the Korean War, before moving to New York to pursue a full-time stage career. Through hard work and determination, Jones would eventually become a regular Broadway actor, mainly starring in Shakespearean productions like King Lear, A Midsummer's Night Dream, Measure for Measure, and Hamlet. Jones was always destined for bigger things, however, and in 1964 he made his film debut in Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove.
Bomb door circuits, negative function, lights red.
Interestingly enough, Jones would later play a surgeon in The Comedians alongside Alec Guinness, an actor he would later be forever linked with. Jones didn't leave the stage behind, however, and continued to flourish on Broadway, winning a Tony Award for Best Actor in 1969 for his role as troubled boxer Jack Jefferson in the play The Great White Hope. He would follow this up the next year by starring in his first leading role in the movie adaptation of the play, which earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Leading Actor.
And don't you pop on me, girl. I'll papa you so you never forget it.
Jones displayed his extensive acting range when he appeared in various educational short segments in the children's TV series Sesame Street that aired throughout the 1970s. For the rest of the decade, he would continue to act on stage, in films, and on TV, until he would lend his iconic voice to a project that he would forever be linked with. In 1977, Jones voiced the villain Darth Vader in the blockbuster movie Star Wars. Arguably the role that he will be most remembered for, one of the character's standout features is his deep, booming voice, which Jones delivers perfectly.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take it away!
The gravitas that he brings to the role has led to Vader going down as one of Hollywood's most memorable baddies. Curiously, Jones requested that he be uncredited for Star Wars and its first sequel, The Empire Strikes Back, as he considered his voice work to be in the same realm as a special effect. His role and the franchise had grown to such international success by the third movie, Return of the Jedi, that he was finally credited for his voice. In a 2008 interview, he stated, "When Linda Blair did the girl in The Exorcist, they hired Mercedes McCambridge to do the voice of the devil coming out of her. And there was controversy as to whether Mercedes should get credit. I was one who thought, no, she was just special effects. So when it came to Darth Vader, I said, no, I'm just special effects. But it became so identified by the third one, I thought, okay, I'll let them put my name on it." Besides the Star Wars sequels, Jones would continue to feature in several box office hits throughout the 1980s, such as Conan the Barbarian, Coming to America, and Field of Dreams, which was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray.
He would later return to children's entertainment when he hosted the show Long Ago and Far Away for 2 seasons, where he narrated over fairy tales that were accompanied by different types of animation. But later on, in 1994, he would voice another legendary character that only Jones could portray in such a memorable way. Starring as Mufasa in The Lion King, Jones was introduced to a new generation of fans as the lovable father of the main character Simba. His fierce, albeit softer performance as the King of Pride Rock is still held in very high regard to this day. The role of Mufasa is the one that most closely rivals that of Darth Vader in terms of what Jones will be most remembered for, as the movie has millions of fans of all ages all over the world.
Remember who you are. You are my my son.
Still no slouch in the world of live action, Jones would continue to star in box office hits throughout the 90s, featuring in such movies as The Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, The Sandlot, Clear and Present Danger, and Cry, the Beloved Country. It was during this time, however, that he encountered his first major health complication when he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes after his doctor noticed he had fallen asleep while exercising at a gym, a fact that Jones kept hidden from the public for over 20 years. Throughout the 2000s, Jones would stay in the public consciousness as he guest starred in many critically acclaimed TV shows like Law & Order, House MD, The Big Bang Theory, and 2.5 Men. To the delight of fans, he would also return to voice Darth Vader at the end of 2005's Revenge of the Sith. Not content to rest on his laurels, however, Jones would return to the Broadway stage as the years rolled on, with roles in On Golden Pond and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. In 2011, he would feature in a Broadway production of Driving Miss Daisy that would also venture to London's West End for a few select performances. He would cap off the year on a high when he was awarded an honorary Oscar for his achievements and extensive career in film.
I stand before you deeply honored, mighty grateful, and just plain gobsmacked.
For the remainder of the 2010s, Jones would continue to stay active through his 80s, appearing in various plays that were showing as far away as Australia. In 2016, he featured in his final ever TV show performance when he voiced Darth Vader in the show Star Wars Rebels. In the same year, he would voice the character again in a live-action setting in the Star Wars spin-off movie Rogue One. 2019's The Rise of Skywalker would mark the last time he would ever voice the character, with a small cameo.
I have been every voice you have ever heard inside your head.
He would also reprise his role as Mufasa in the CGI remake of The Lion King, in which he was the only original cast member to do so. In 2021, Jones returned to play King Jaffe Jafar in the sequel to 1988's Coming to America. This was his final ever screen credit. Somewhat controversially, in 2022, his voice was used via a voice recreation software for Darth Vader in the Disney Plus series Obi-Wan Kenobi. Jones signed a deal with Lucasfilm authorizing archival recordings of his voice to be used in the future to artificially generate the voice of the character even after his passing.
He is not just any Jedi.
From humble beginnings of a shack in Mississippi to a galaxy far, far away. From the creaking boards of the Broadway stage to the red carpets of Hollywood. From the sun-drenched savannah surrounding Pride Rock to the imaginations of children everywhere. James Earl Jones leaves behind a legacy, not just of memorable performances, but of a man who overcame immense odds to become one of the most revered figures in the entertainment industry. His story will continue to inspire actors, dreamers, and anyone who has ever faced adversity, showing that no obstacle is too great if you have the will to keep going. From stutter to stardom. From obscurity to immortality.